all I want to say is that the critics don't really care about us. But hey guys, Chris of the Polish Geek, and welcome to the review of Michael, the new biographical movie based on Michael Jackson. And the first thing I want to say is that I'm a huge fan of Michael Jackson music. Like, that's my childhood. Like, I didn't speak English obviously in my childhood, but I remember how I've been hearing plenty of his music when I was only a very little kid on a radio and all, and he was talked about all everywhere. And while I didn't speak English, I did very much love his music. I mean, obviously I never met him personally like a lot of kids in the movie, but I mean, I was just this little Polish kid living somewhere in Poland, so how could I possibly ever meet Michael Jackson? But once again, he was a big phenomenon, and obviously I did love his music and was hearing it everywhere. But what do I think of this movie? Well, I'm about to join the crowd that says that critics are way off on this one, because I really enjoyed it. It's a love letter to Michael Jackson music, so if you love Michael Jackson music, like I do, then I think this is a movie for you. But now let's address the elephant in the room though. This is something that just cannot be skipped. Like, all his allegations that were targeted against him much later in life, well, this is a controversial subject I'm not getting into. Like, was he guilty, was he not? This is something that we'll never find out at this point, but I will state one thing though. If in a hypothetical scenario he really was indeed guilty of those crimes, then listening to his music or anything is indeed against my morals. But again, we don't know, he's dead, that's in the past, so let's just focus on the movie itself and let's get those allegations out of the room. Once again, I will say this: I don't trust the mainstream media, but at the same time, those accusations against him were just, I think, too serious to be ignored. But whatever, he's dead, it's in the past, so we'll never find out the truth. So let's just once again focus on the movie, which, as I said, once again is a love letter to Michael Jackson music. So I think if you love Michael Jackson music, then I think this is very much a movie for you. And I think the reason many people like this movie, including me actually, that it makes them feel so nostalgic, because it does indeed bring you back to the past when you didn't need social media or anything to be a famous star, and most importantly, where politics didn't really matter, because people came on the stage to watch Michael Jackson and his talents and music, and they didn't care for his politics. Like I betcha that if he was still alive today, like, he would very much be in the culture war. Whichever side would he take, we'll never find out. But whatever side he would take, one thing is certain: he'll be a huge target of whatever side is. But he died before the whole culture war thing ever started, so that's not really an issue. And that's why the movie also makes you feel nostalgic for those times where people are just going on a stage to see Michael Jackson and his really excellent songs. And as Michael Jackson sang, he didn't really care about the skin color or any of that. He was just had a passion for music, and he was just focusing on making music for people. And that's why he was so beloved and why he gained so much popularity with people of all types. The first thing that has to be mentioned, of course, is the really spectacular performance by Michael Jackson's nephew, Jeffrey Jackson. Like, Jeffrey Jackson doesn't just play Michael Jackson, he is Michael Jackson. He steps into the role, settles in, and then, like, it almost feels like basically he transforms into his uncle. And again, he totally deserves an Oscar for his performance. It almost, basically, as I was watching the movie, I didn't even think I was watching Michael Jackson's nephew. I was basically feeling constantly like I was watching the real Michael Jackson. Yep. So the performance by Jeffrey Jackson is simply incredible, and again, he totally deserves to win an Oscar for that. And I also have to say, seeing Michael Jackson's childhood and how he performed with his 4 older brothers, and also see the abusive father Joseph Jackson, and then Michael's talent and his rise to fame and how he embarked on this career, that was all really interesting and fascinating stuff. Especially that I did vaguely know those things. I did know he had an abusive father, and I did know that he started with 4 older brothers, but actually seeing it more play out was really interesting and fascinating. Although now we'll have to address something that did very much bother me. I mean, we all knew that was going to be the case. After all, it's a well-known fact, but Michael Jackson's youngest siblings, his younger brother Randy and his younger sister Janet, as well as the oldest sister Rebby, not sure, but yes, the oldest sister as well as the younger sister Janet and younger brother Randy were completely not in the movie. In fact, it's almost as the movie portrayed Michael Jackson as the youngest child, and yes, we know that they declined to be in the movie, but unfortunately it did bother me because it doesn't fully reflect the reality, especially that it's actually quite interesting to see how the Janet and Randy, the two children that were younger than Michael, actually were involved in the whole thing actually. And again, also the older sister wasn't there either, and once again it did really bother me. Again, not so much we could do about it. They declined to be in the movie, so it's not like we had much to do about it, although it further shows the family drama going on and that there is a lot more to family drama in life than meets the eye actually, especially that Janet apparently called it a whitewashing of the family, so we can probably presume that although the father was presented as very abusive, that we didn't see the worst of it really. It can be implied, but whatever. Janet, Randy and the older sister Rebby were not in the movie, but I wish they were, and their absence did bother me. But oh well, ultimately we can't do much about it. But again, as I said, the movie is ultimately a love letter to Michael Jackson music, and I think once again that's why there is such a clear divide between the critics and the audiences. For the critics, it's more like they're complaining what the movie is not and what it doesn't show. Instead of actually checking what the movie did do, they focus too much on what it didn't do, and largely the controversial issues surrounding Michael Jackson, which admittedly emerge actually later than, because the movie ends when he's about to actually fully embark on his solo career, and the legal issues emerge later, so it's understandable that they're not there in the movie. And besides, once again, as I said, that's not what the movie aims for. And that's why the audiences love the movie so much on the other hand, because the audiences, instead of focusing on what the movie didn't do, they focus on what the movie did do, and also largely what they really wanted, which ultimately is seeing Michael Jackson's rise to fame and popularity and his talents, and most importantly, his music. Because that's ultimately what people want most in this movie, and that's the part that steals the whole thing. Michael Jackson's really excellent music, like the musical sequences are by far the best part of the movie, and then just anytime Jafar Jackson steps into the shoes of his uncle and performs on stage, you just completely forget that this is actually not Michael Jackson, and you just almost feel like you're basically watching a real life Michael Jackson concert. And ultimately, that's why the audiences love the movie so much in contrast to the critics, because the audiences, pretty much that's what the audiences want. They want Michael Jackson's excellent music, and this movie, once again, is pretty much a love letter to that, combined with his rise to popularity. And I also have to say, the way the movie ends, it does feel like it only ends when Michael Jackson's career is truly about to begin, actually. The movie even ends on his story continues, but that's the point. We don't know. Are they actually planning to make a sequel and do an next part of his life? Or maybe it was simply as a way to refer to the real life history of Michael Jackson, that his legend was only about to begin then? Or maybe it was simply a way to thank the audience for watching this movie? Whatever, but one thing is certain. The movie ends when his true career is about to only begin, but ultimately, once again, this movie is a perfect example of what the critics want and what the audiences want. Because this movie isn't a historically accurate, detailed biography of Michael Jackson. No, it's simply about a little bit of his childhood, then his rise to popularity, and most importantly, a love letter and tribute to his music. And once again, this is why the audiences love it so much, and this is why I had a really good time with it too. Even if I do think that he's a very polarizing figure, and I honestly don't know what to really think about him as a person. But the truth is, we don't know. But overall, once again, if you love Michael Jackson music, then I think that this is very much a perfect movie for you. Because at the end of the day, that's what Michael is. A love letter to Michael Jackson music and his rise in fame, and combined with a really excellent performance by his nephew Jafar Jackson. So ultimately, folks, thank you for checking out my review of Michael. Press the like button, please subscribe to this channel, and I will talk to you soon in another video. Talk to you later, bye.